Hello everybody, I'm Aradhna Rana, founder principal of the Icon Public School, and today we are going to talk about a topic that is very relevant to all of us as educators. The first slide, which is on your screen, it shows you my school and my team. Very proud of it because this is my world. It brings me a sense of belonging. And it's a very, very important part of my life. This building is a labor of love. Each tile tells me a story, very, very attached to it. And that's my team, which has been a part of my journey. Now, a few months back, COVID came. And then the image turned something like this. The building was relegated to the background. And my team became the most important part of my life. So what keeps it afloat, this dream, is not the brick and mortar building. It is the people. The resources, are more important. That taught me a lot, that the human resource is very, very important. So that is why we must treasure and uplift the team that we work with, because it gives each member a feeling that they're important and they're valued. So that is how this becomes important. Team empowerment becomes important because we need to give value to the members of the team, the human resource that we work with. And this is what we are going to discuss today. Now, before we start, let's see, what's a team? A team is a group of people with a common goal. What is empowerment? Empowerment is the power given to that team to work with authority. And why do you need to give it is a sense of this presentation. Now, before we proceed, I'll show you 3 pictures. And since all of you are professionals in some way or the other, you would recognize it. And in your own mind, since this is not an interactive discussion, but in your own mind, just write on a piece of paper, or in your own mind, just think for yourself, what do you think is the ideal team you would like to be a member of? And what is the kind of a team you would like to lead? So that's the first picture. In this picture, you see what is happening, and I'll give you a moment to think. And is this your idea of an ideal team? Second picture is this one. Is this your idea of an ideal team? Think about it, and then we shall discuss it. And that's the third picture. Is this the idea of an ideal team? Now, whenever I've taken workshops on this topic, I don't know what your responses are, but for the first picture, normally the responses I've got is no. The leader in that team seems to be a bit too authoritative. The leader seems to take all the credit. The team leader is instructing. So almost 99% of my audience, or maybe more, has said no, this is not the kind of empowered team we would like to lead or be a part of. Second, I've got a little mixed response, but almost 70 to 80% people said no, this is not the kind of team that we would like to work with. Because you see, there are 4 people, they have these letters, yet they're not connected and they don't become a team. There are 4 people on the same level, so some have perceived it as a team, but most people say no, they need to be connected to be working as a team. Now, this is the third picture, and I've got generally a very mixed response on that. Almost 90% people have said yes, this is the kind of team we would like to be a part of, and this is the ideal team. Why they've said this is because when you see the employees are supporting each other, they are working together in harmony, and they're putting the pieces together. Now, this picture is a matter of perspective, because though I've got generally people think that this is the ideal team, to my mind it is not. Because what you see here, these are the team leaders. They are monitoring. They are seeing that things are working out well. Of course, the team members are working together. To my mind, this is not team empowerment. Team empowerment is when you give people the power to make decisions. So the leader has to produce leaders and make them rise. Maybe a different perspective, but to me, this is not a team. What makes a great leader? A great leader is one who creates leaders, who is there in the background to support, who does not interfere in the working of a particular project or a task. Once he has created leadership, the power to decide now rests with the team members. He awakens a skill in a team, even in those who do not know that they have that skill. So as a team leader, it is not just your position on top. It is the strength you give them to support you on top. You may or may not be working from the top. You would be one of them. So to me, a team leader is a leader who empowers the team. And that is why team empowerment is a very, very important thing. Now, when you see this picture, who or what is this yellow? Normally the response I get from people is, this is the leader. And they perceive the leader as either arrogant or successful in different ways. But again, a different perspective, this yellow is the organization. Now when you go back to the preamble and see, in the well-being and prosperity of the country lies our prosperity. So when you work in a team, in the well-being and prosperity of the organization lies our well-being and prosperity and success. So this top, if you consider always as the organization you work with, the rest are the ones supporting the organization. So that is why it's very important to know what a team leader is and how an organization is to be supported. Now, being a team leader does not mean heading a corporate company or heading a school or being the topmost person. A team leader could be anybody under whom or with whom few people are working. It does not even have to be a profession. It could be a father or a mother could be leading the family team. So whatever we discuss today, the principles of being a team leader and empowering your team is as relevant to a head of a family, a head of an organization, a worker in an organization who has team members. So it is actually a life lesson. It has nothing to do with a corporate or an organization only. Now, I'd like you to see this picture and describe your school culture. Since we're talking about schools, we would refer to an organization as a school. It would, I think we identify more with the school environment. So could you describe your school culture in one word? You could have multiple words, and on a piece of paper, if you could just write down the words that qualify your school culture. Is your school culture fearful, where you're scared that somebody's looking over your shoulder? Is it nurturing? Is it inspiring? Is it hostile? Is it authoritarian? Is it exciting? Is it inclusive? Is it motivating? Is it democratic? Is it toxic? Is it empathetic? Is it fun? So whatever describes your school culture, if you could put those words down on a piece of paper. And after you put it down, just take the first letter of the words that you put down and see what is the anagram it makes. If it makes the anagram HAFT, H-A-F-T, which means, actually HAFT means a handle or a grip. It is actually the kind of environment you have is something that controls you. If it makes an anagram define me, it is something that nurtures you. So this is just a little fun exercise, and once you do it, just evaluate what your school environment is. Now that's another picture, and describe yourself as an employee. Now when you put down the adjectives that you would use for yourself, now you've got to be honest, because there's nobody really looking at your results and you are analyzing yourself. You will notice that if the anagram of the previous slide was halved, or 3 or 4 of those traits, you're describing yourself as an employee will very well coordinate with that. Now, if your school culture or your organization culture is oppressive, you will be a receiver. You will not be a contributor. To you, the loyalty will not come, so you will not talk of the organization as my school. You will talk of it as this school. You will not be a very satisfied employee. The success of the organization will not matter so much to you. What will matter is your growth. How much am I getting out of it? You will not be empowered. So these two things are related. For your employees to feel for an organization and be a good employee, the empowerment of employees to give them an open atmosphere is very, very important. And that is where team empowerment comes in. Now in this picture, if you see, and I ask you, who's the leader? In my workshops, very few have been able to identify really who's the leader. Everybody seems to be working in unison. And this is the way an organization works most effectively, where the leader works with the team members together. You generally cannot make out who's the leader, because the leader has done his or her job by empowering the team members. So this is what a good organization looks like. Your team is as strong as its weakest link. Even if you feel that you've empowered a team, if there's that one person you've not been able to train, empower, your team cannot function, because a team is like these cogwheels working together. If there is one weak link, can this wheel move? Can the machinery work? It can't. So it is very important to strengthen each link and synchronize the working. A leadership role is empowering the team to work together, to make each link strong enough to be able to carry the rest. So this picture, I think, defines leadership to a great extent. Empowerment trickles from top to bottom. The leader has to make sure that the whole team gets the power to work not only together but make self-decisions. People always resent what is compulsory or what comes to them as orders. But when they start making their own rules and when they start making their own decisions, they become accountable to themselves. The enjoyment or the joy of work comes through that. So that is why each member has to be empowered to create his or her own empowered team. Leadership is not about one person. One person creates many leaders. These leaders create more leaders. So every person gets the feeling of being responsible and a leader. Now, why do we need to empower a team? It's very easy, to work with a team where people just follow you. Easy in one sense, because very few mistakes will be made, and whatever a concept or vision you have in your mind, you'll end up doing all the work. But can you, as a leader, can you be everywhere? No, you need a team. And when you have a team, unless you give them the authority to decide, why will they think? So generally, when an unempowered team will be a team of people who will follow orders, and a human brain always takes the easy way out. They will not use their brains. They're very in the comfort zone of doing what is told to them. When you empower a person, when you empower a leader, that is where he becomes responsible, he gets motivated, he gets innovative, creative, and starts to use his brain. So that is why very important to empower a team. Now, we know it's now important to have an empowered team, but how do you do it? It is not easy to give the reins of decision making to a team that is not trained or you don't have confidence in. So if you want to have confidence in a team, it's very important to train the team. Training is a very important process that should be there for you to hand over the power. Now, once you've trained a team, you may have a fantastic team, but do you have enough resources? You may have all your team members very well trained, but unless you provide them with adequate resources, will they be effective? Even if they have the resources, unless you provide them the opportunity to use the resources and use their training, there is no point, because they're not going to be effective. And then the confidence, to give them the confidence that they can do it, and for you to have the confidence that they can do it. So these are the steps or the tools that you have to give your team to empower a team. Now, for any human development, for any leadership to take place, first we must know the potential of the team, then the training of the team, the mentoring of the team. Even after you train, the guidance, the mentoring is very important, because this gives them the idea of your vision, what you expect out of them, to motivate them for them to work with you. Now, motivation comes from many angles, and empowerment or leadership also comes in various stages. People could follow you because they have to follow you. Their bread and butter depends on you, so they will follow you. People could follow you because the organization benefits from it, so they follow you. People could follow you because they respect you immensely. And people could follow you because they see their own personal growth, in whatever they're doing. So the many ways in which your team members may get motivated. For you as a team leader, your job is to identify what motivates them most, and then you become a team leader. Now, in leadership, you are actually standing at this crossroads where you have to take the right directions. So first of all, you must have a vision, the map of where you want to go. Unless it's clear in your mind, you will not be able to communicate in others. You must know the value system that you or your organization follows, so that you are able to impart those values, those ethics in your team. Encourage the team to do whatever you expect them to do, and empower them. Give them the confidence that you will hold their hand no matter what. That is true leadership. It is instilling vision, values, encouraging and empowering your team. Now, what are the steps how does it occur? The first step in empowering a team is to select the right employee. It's very important to have the right kind of team. Unless you select the right employees, you are not likely to hand over any power to them. Once you've selected them to provide training so that they share your vision, they share the ideas that you want them to implement. Third thing, which is not very common and not very easy to do, is people don't share information, because a lot of leaders feel insecure that sharing information might take away credit from them. So it's very important to know that and be confident as a leader that original is always an original. Even if you share your information, nobody can take away that credit from you. The success of your team is your success. That is why it's very important for a leader to share information and then communicate the expectations. You cannot, leave it to guesswork, that your employees don't have to second guess what you want from them. So very clear lines of communication should be open before you can vest in the power to them. Now, these steps of empowerment, there's no step that you can skip and empower a team. It's very important to first select, train, share information with them, communicate what you want from them, and then vest in power with them. Now, how to do it is, first of all, encourage entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not making money. Entrepreneurship is an attitude where you encourage your employees to be creative, to be innovative, to be able to think out of the box. So this is encouraging entrepreneurship. Then very important is challenging your employees. An unchallenged mind, makes a work very boring. So people are generally not coming up with ideas unless the whole atmosphere is very challenging. Goals are set for them which are easy for them to achieve, but at every achievement there is a further goal. So short-term and long-term goals are very important to be set for your team. Then another very important thing is to solicit honest feedback. When you say that, give me your frank opinion, most often people don't want a frank opinion. They are not open to opinions. As a leader, it's very important to listen to honest feedback, even if it doesn't agree with you. It's very important to take in ideas of the team and delve upon them. I don't say that you have to implement everything that your team says, but give it respectable or respectful listening. If you made a mistake or if your employees have made a mistake, accepting it is very important, and it's very difficult because sometimes mistakes can be very, very expensive. So if you made a mistake, an honest accepting a mistake is very important. If your employees have made a mistake, to hold their hand is very important, because if you don't, next time nobody will take a risk, and unless you take risks of creativity or innovation, there is nothing happening, no productivity happening. And mentoring gently is, of course, the role of a leader. It is not that the leader steps away after empowering a team. A leader is always there in the background to hold people together, to mentor people gently, and to take care of mistakes before they become huge. Now, the 4 elements of team empowerment are potency, meaningfulness, autonomy, and impact. Now, potency, in a potent team believes in its own power. It is confident that it has the power to be productive and be effective. Meaningfulness is a measure of how much employees care about the impact of their decisions on the organization. Then autonomy is very important because they must have the freedom to take decisions. They should be free to make decisions and to bear the impact of their decisions. And the impact is the impact on the organization, how much each member is contributing to the organization. So these are the basic 4 elements of team empowerment. Now, how does it happen? First of all, the first step is to enable your employees to take a decision. Then enhance their skills, engage them in work, and then empower them. You see, unless you enable them, you cannot empower them. Unless you enhance their skills, that gives you confidence to empower them. When you engage them into the kind of work you want them to do, that is the step just before empowerment. Then make them responsible for their decisions. So to give space and freedom to your employees is team empowerment. These are a few wrap-up points generally. So what creates an empowerment in a team? One is open-mindedness. If you're closed about your ideas, if you're fixed in your ideas, if you're not flexible about taking in new ideas, there can not be an empowered team. There cannot be trust and confidence. Team empowerment means developing others. In their well-being, in their development lies your success. So it's very important to develop others, to see that they grow. Only when your employees grow will they feel motivated enough, will they feel responsible enough, and that is where loyalty will come in. To be a supportive leader. As a leader, you cannot shake off responsibility if things go wrong. You cannot have a blame game. So that is why it's very important to be a supportive leader. And then recognition and reward is a must in any aspect of life. And so it is in an organization. What you give as recognition and reward depends on your organization and your thinking. But some kind of reward and recognition is very important to keep employees motivated. Also, not indiscriminate recognition and reward. If it is across the board, people get demotivated. The good workers get demotivated because everybody gets the same. So it's a very important thing for a leader to know when and how much to reward. Encouragement always at every step builds a positive work environment. If you do not encourage employees, they'll not feel motivated. And giving authority, making people responsible, is the crux of empowering a team and trusting them with the mistakes they make, the innovations they do, their ideas and their decisions. Now, why should you empower a team? Because it achieves a lot. An empowered team is an efficient team. It's a productive team. You have innovation there. Any great idea to come up, it needs a team which feels the responsibility on its shoulders. It brings about dedication in work because everybody is responsible for their job. So it brings about dedication. It brings about a lot of loyalty because the trust that you place in a person brings about extreme loyalty in an organization. It brings about a lot of initiative. People are not fearful of coming up with new thoughts, new ideas. And eventually it leads to low attrition. Who wants to leave an organization which gives them such a rich working atmosphere? And best of all, it creates leadership in the pipeline. You never have that leadership vacuum. People will come and people will go. There will be positions which are vacant. But organizations generally land up in a vacuum. You're so dependent on one leader. You as a leader, if you've created many leaders, you don't have these gaps and spaces in your leadership. So that is very important. Now, if we take a school, this is your general machinery of a school. The management, the principal, academic heads and teachers. And on the periphery are those very important aspects of administration staff, your helpers, your vendors, your student. To have this very well-oiled machinery, if you see, everybody is a leader in their own little space. It is not that the management is on top. Management cannot function unless the nodal principal is functioning well. Can you imagine this whole machinery working even if one space on it was not empowered? So each one is a leader in his or her own right, and it's very important to empower each one. Now, before we wrap up, we'll quickly go over the 6 key ideas to empower your team in a school. The first one is I think one aspect which is not, it seems easy, but it's not at all easy to do, is to listen. As a world, as a society, as people, we've forgotten how to listen. We are, especially as leaders, because once you come to the position on top, it becomes very lonely. There are many people who will tell you how great you are, but there'll be very few who will tell you what is wrong or be critical of you. So listening and listening with respect is very important for you to empower or to be a good leader. Second is to train. I cannot stress, anything that I say will not be enough to stress the kind of importance this particular aspect has. No amount of training is ideal. We keep getting trained, we keep learning. So learning never stops. So training, whether it's in new skills, whether it's in the form of coaching, webinars, workshops, is a constant process. And this builds up teamwork, it builds up ability, it builds up empowerment. Communication again is one of the factors which is very important if you want to have an empowered team. So communication, is something that again happens not only from the top to the bottom, but laterally and amongst team members. So very important to communicate. And flexibility, like we spoke in the beginning, flexibility, unless you're flexible in your mind to take in new ideas, there is no team empowerment or team coaching or team training. Nothing will happen. Experiment is something that we shy away from for the fear of making mistakes. So it's very important to experiment with new ideas, give people the freedom to experiment. That is where innovative ideas come in. And flatten the organizational hierarchy. Empowerment does not happen in a rigid, dictatorial or stifling environment. Now the last but not the least is rewarding a team. Rewarding is again something that we've just talked about, but at the end, reward is what creates motivation. It is not about giving monetary rewards or in terms of kind. A reward can be just an appreciation, but employee recognition goes a long way in creating a good environment. Now a lot of people confuse between these two terms, delegation and empowerment. This is very important to recognize as a leader, because you may be delegating, you may not be empowering. So delegation is, I want you to do this. Empowerment is, what do you need from me? So you see, the two statements themselves tell you a lot about the two terms. In delegation, you say this is how you do it. So it is you're commanding. Whereas empowerment is, what will be your role in it? You are letting the employee decide what his role in it will be. So that means he's taking on the responsibility of deciding his role. In delegation is, this is what I want it to look like. So the vision is all yours. Whereas in empowerment, this is where we are going. So you travel together. Delegation is concrete, empowerment is fluid. Delegation is instruction, empowerment is listening. Delegation has a strong hierarchy. So all decisions are made from the top and filtered down below. Whereas empowerment creates lateral bonds. People work together. In delegation, I will divide the task. In empowerment, what can you contribute? Again, the team members decide their own role. They tell you what they can contribute. They become responsible for their discussions. In delegation, you follow a laid out path. In empowerment, let's find the best way. So it is discovery together. In delegation, you say, come back to me when you finish. That means the responsibility, yes, you're giving them, it's all yours. But you are not taking the responsibility of their mistakes and any roadblocks that they may face. And in empowerment, let's see the bigger picture. So we are all working together and we are all in it together. In delegation, this is my vision. In empowerment, what is your opinion? Delegation, the task is mine. Empowerment, the task is ours. So this differentiation is very important. And with this differentiation, you will see a lot of productivity coming in, a lot of joy in work coming in. And that is why team empowerment becomes very, very important. Now, if you see this picture, which ones would you rather have? You can decide for yourself. Satisfied employees you might have, but empowered employees are joyful employees. So these are the rewards of team empowerment. There are certain barriers to empowerment, and there are certain demerits of empowerment. Nothing is absolute good. So you may face a lot of barriers in empowering a team. First of all, if your selection of employees is not proper, or proper procedures are not followed, you cannot give any part to employees who are not suitable for a position. Secondly, a very, very important thing is insecurity of leaders. Insecure leaders cannot be leaders. As a leader, the security of being a leader is a gift, and that is very important when you lead a team. Lack of understanding of concept amongst employees is because you have not communicated the concept. So if that is there, team empowerment does not help. A failure to establish boundaries. Nothing can be absolute. So even if your team is empowered, they must know how much and what are their limits to their work. So it is, you may have different, committees for different kinds of tasks. The one committee cannot be empowered to take decisions about another aspect. So limits and boundaries must be set. Another thing is lack of communication amongst the team members. So a cohesive team, a happy team is very important when you empower a team, and there cannot be any rigid hierarchy in an empowered team. So these are, if there is a rigid hierarchy, a team cannot be empowered. Now, sometimes there are some demerits of empowerment also, because when you empower a team, the power may go into inappropriate hands. It can be very time consuming, because if you have a certain vision, it's much quicker to finish a task yourself. But in the long term, when you see the results, it is not very time consuming. Mistakes may turn out to be blunders at times. So you got to be prepared for these kind of things also. Rewards, the team members may not consider rewards to be commensurate to their efforts, and there might be huge ego clashes in the team, because in an empowered team, everybody is laterally empowered. So everybody thinks that they are the leaders. So amongst the leaders, there may be a lot of ego clashes. Now when this happens, there are no tiebreakers, because who's to decide that who's right? So that becomes a problem, and everybody, it may turn into a blame cycle. Everybody might blame the other person. So these are some demerits of empowerment. But if you are a true leader, if you have empowered your team, if you are secure in your own position, it is you will not face many of these demerits, and ultimately an empowered team will give you a very high level of efficiency, productivity, loyalty, and the merits of team empowerment are really great. So your human resource can be such a positive if your team is working with you and empowered. So with this, I hope we all lead empowered teams, and it's a different pleasure altogether to work with a team that sees itself working alongside you. And I do wish that you all lead empowered teams and take good care that your team not only respects you because they have to respect you, but generally does because they are growing with you. Thank you very much, and I've enjoyed this, and we'll see you in another project sometime, someday. Thank you very much. Signing off.